Hey guys, Crystal Thompson here for Maker's Gonna Learn. I'm so excited. We have a super easy watercolor card using one of the amazing Maker's Gonna Learn cut files. So we're gonna hop on over to the cut files and we're going to download the best day ever, which is a barn and manger scene, and we're going to bring this into our design space. So I'm gonna click browse, I'm gonna add it, and so you get an SVG file. So I'm just looking for it on my desktop. I'm gonna grab that in and bring it into my design space. You wanna be sure that you unzip the file so you will get an SVG and a PNG. And we wanna be sure that we're getting the SVG file in, and we're going to save and bring it into the design space. Now that it's showing up on our uploaded images, we can insert it to design space. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take out that best day ever. And the reason why is that I want to be able to just have that little manger scene along with the little hut. So we're going to bring this up and we're going to resize it. So think about what kind of card you're creating. So you're creating a square card or a rectangle card. I usually like to bring in a rectangle and put the size of what I'm looking for, and that way I'm sure that when this cuts, the manger scene is going to fit in to into the card. So I'm going to bring it in, and that's, again, I like to make my cards A2 sizes, which are 4¼ and 5½. And so like I said, I'm going to be sure that this scene is going to fit into that card base. Also, if you want to make your card making easy, you can just cut the rectangles out of the Cricut, and that way when you make your cut files, you have your card panel and you have the major scene ready to go. So once we figured out what size we want, we're going to go ahead and cut it. So we're going to be cutting this out of normal cardstock, and this is just going to be white cardstock. So I have it ready to go, and that's what it ends up looking like. So be sure to get all your pieces ready to go. You're also going to need a piece of watercolor cardstock. I get this at Hobby Lobby. An assortment of watercolors. This is a koi watercolor. It does come with a brush pen, so I'm using a wide brush pen, and all it has is water in the pen itself. You're going to need some clear adhesive along with some white paint and some sequins. You're going to need a tape runner to put it all together and some foam tape for the back of the major structure. So let's get started. We are going to begin by creating that beautiful background for the scene. So I wanted to create a night scene, and I feel like watercolors can really achieve this really easy. And this is a great technique. It's so easy that you can, sit one evening, put on your Christmas movies, and start watercoloring. You don't need a ton of stuff. And this little, you can see how little this water palette is. It's so tiny. You could do it in the car, waiting for the kids, waiting for the dog, whatever errands you are running and you're waiting, you can do it. We're going to begin with a purple shade on the top. So think about the night sky, right? And it's usually like a purple top. It fades down into a navy blue, and then it fades down really into a lighter blue. It's covered with stars. So the beauty about watercolor is that you get to layer this color. So if you find that your watercolors aren't flowing into each other, add more water. You can't go wrong by adding water to your cardstock. All it's going to do, it's going to absorb it. If you find that it's too much water, you get a paper towel and just blot it up. So I'm going to add that purple. I really want these colors to run into each other so you get that beautiful watercolor effect, and you do that by adding more water. So I've let it dry for a little bit, and as you can see, now we have a first layer of our color. So if you want to get that water effect, you want to be sure that it's completely dry before going on and adding more color to it. I'm going to be sure that this next batch is super pigmented, so add water to your actual watercolor little paste and then add it to your card. While that dries, we're going to set it off to the side. You can see it's kind of wet. We're going to begin by adding foam pieces. So this is two-sided foam. It's called mounting tape as well. You could use it to decorate. And it really is just a tiny little piece of foam that has glue on both sides. You could buy it pre-cut. I actually like to save mine and cut it to the length and width that I need. And then we're going to place this strip onto the edges of the barn, and then we're going to put some on top of that roofing as well. and that way it's going to be one solid image, and when you place it on your watercolor card, it's going to be nice and even. You're not going to have like this wonky curvature because of, you know, some pieces have foam and some don't. All right, we're going to remove that backing, and before you place this on your watercolor cardstock, be sure that your watercolor cardstock is completely wet. So or completely dry. So mine is still wet, as you can see. You can see that water on that. We're going to bring in the manger, and we're going to place the foam on the little baby, on the bucket where the baby goes, and then I'm going to put some foam on the back of that star. I am not going to add foam to the legs of the little basket there, and the reason why is that the pieces are just too small. So we're gonna use your normal liquid adhesive for this. So we're gonna just trim the edges, especially when you have the star. You want to make sure that nothing's showing through. Okay, so once this is completely dry, I'm going to come in with my white paint. I'm going to remove the backing and then just flicker the white paint over this. If you do not have white paint, you can either A, use some white watercolor, create a really pigmented base, just a very pigmented liquidy, and then splatter it with your brush. B, you can add, if you have white acrylic paint, and I know most of you makers are going to learn, folks have acrylic paints because you guys do all sorts of fun stuff. Use some of that white paint and then flicker it on this. And again, be sure that it's completely dry before you begin to place your foam pieces. So I'm going to bring in my stable structure, and we are going to remove any of that backing. And when you're working with smaller pieces, it can be a little bit difficult to remove. Do not, though, remove the backing and then cut, because then it makes it super, super hard to cut off that foam backing on it. All right, we're going to try to center it to the best of our abilities, and it really does take shape. The sky behind it looks like a sky once you start placing these gorgeous cuts onto that watercolor cardstock. Next, we're going to add the little basket there and put it right in the center of the manger part. We're going to place that. Again, we had placed foam adhesive. And then we're going to come in with the legs to it, and we're going to add some mono liquid glue to it. And when you're doing this, I actually referred back to the SVG or the PNG file from the Makers Gonna Learn site to be sure how I was supposed to place the legs on this thing. So another way to, you know, do this card and do lots of them, so mass production of them, is to not use foam. So you do a whole batch of watercoloring, and then you have all your cuts, and then you just go in and just place them with normal runner adhesive, and it just makes it a lot quicker than trying to remove and cut backers off the foam. We're going to add that star, and you have this beautiful little image. I do have a set of clear sequin stars, and you can get these at your favorite craft store, and they have all sorts of shapes. I felt the stars would just give it a lot of little shimmer, and the stars would go great on the sky. So at this point, you can cut out a sentiment, or you can stamp a sentiment if you own any stamps, or just let it be. And I'm just gonna let it be because I feel that, you know, with Christmas, some people don't celebrate Christmas, and you know, you could either put a sentiment on it or not. Well, guys, that does it. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Crystal Thompson for Makers Gonna Learn, and we're creating an easy watercolor card for mass production for the Christmas season. Have an amazing day.